So to get back to the horror story that I was just telling you about, junior high school. By the way, I hope you don't mind if I put my legs up for a little bit, just to get comfortable. This story is pretty long. Well, in high school, as I said, I was skipping out of school a couple times a week. It just, the pressure to succeed was too great, and the inability to accomplish it as a result of all that was going on inside me, it was just as great. So I was in a tailspin. I attempted to find my happiness in the streets, and I certainly did find it. I told you I created a gang, and I wouldn't say that gang was an evil bunch of minds, but I will say that we were the kind of kids who we wanted nothing more than to be able to be the man, just grab like by the horns, and whatever we had to go through to accomplish that's what we would do. But we didn't have too many friends outside of our small group of friends, so we didn't have too many avenues to be able to accomplish something like that. So for the most part, we stayed in the community and run amok. And in the 80s, we were I was 16, 17 at that time, and going to Valley High School, I would get off school, and after skipping out, as I was telling you, I would go back to the school right at the time when it was time to leave school. And just in case my mom or something showed up, I was able to walk away with kids, and then on the way up to the path up to home. Well, getting to the top of the path that was located in back of Valley High School, it was always a fun ordeal. We would drink, we would get high, smoking marijuana, of course. And we would just fights, arguments, everything went on that path. Sexual interludes. It was ridiculous. And the Friday football games were even more ridiculous. In the paths, along the hillside in the woods, while everybody's down there having fun. There were many of us who were having fun along the path, and I was one of those having fun along the path, also on a dark path at the same time. And that path in back of the school, good metaphor, that path led me to the area of the house that I lived in, and I would leave the opening of the path at the top of the hill behind the school, and I would walk about a block and a half down, and I would make a right turn, and there was a mansion right there on the corner, and I met some guy there, and he was about 58 years old, and long story short, he, for the most part, saw that there was someone he could uh, take advantage of a young kid, 16 years old and just turning 17, and kind of nerdy, but out to find that neon bright big golden nugget sign. So he found a way, and I was looking for a way, and you know how it goes. I stopped to talk to him one day, and after he said hello to me a few times, he would always meet me outside his house. A couple times, he met me outside his house, and at that time, as I said, I was skipping out of school, so I was on my way to my house, which was about 8 houses up the block. And the gentleman asked me if I'd like to come in and, see his dog. And I said, yeah, I like animals. I always loved animals, like most of you. I only spent a few minutes talking to him. I really didn't honestly have any intention on trying to have an escapade or whatever you want to call it with this guy. I was not into that. I was in high school, and everybody would look down on homosexuality. So it was a good thing I didn't have that much experience with it for years at that time. So that was something I totally I was against it, and I acted overly tough at different times. And speaking of acting overly tough, the gentleman I'm speaking in regards to, I don't remember his name, although it was unfortunate that he and I had to even meet. It's unfortunate I had to meet him. It's unfortunate he had to meet me. And fortunately, you and I have a great reason to collectively feel that way, because now we have an opportunity to reset, turn away from all of our stupidity, and open ourselves up to the magnetic shift that's already in the air. Okay, I'll explain all that to you shortly. To get back to this gentleman, I didn't have too much intention on hurting him. But one day I was walking past his house, going home, and he asked me if I'd like to come in. I said no, but I'll be back up like tomorrow or something, or later. I can't remember if it was tomorrow or later. However, I went to get my friends, and 2 of my friends, we went to his house, and we kidnapped him. I put a butcher knife to his throat, and I hog-tied him, tied him up, laid him on his floor on his stomach, and for the most part, my friends were running through his house, robbing him of what goods he had, and I was under the conclusion that we had all concluded that whatever they got, while I did my part, they would split it with me. And anyways, we're going through the gentleman's house, and then we decide we need to get some money out of him, because there was really no money in the house. There were a couple little gold bars or something like that, and some guns, and all those things were taken by my co-defendants. And I call them co-defendants because I went to jail because of this, but I'll get to that in a moment. Anyways, we took this guy down into his car. And now the reason I'm telling you this is not to glamorize crime. That is certainly one of the aspects of an unconscious mind, and that's what has us as a collective so quick to be deceptive and, you know, capable of being corrupt. And you know, so I'm telling you this because of the fact that for you and I to change our, you know, for you to turn your day around, you know, your life around, you turn your day around, and you can't turn your day around until you know you know who you are, why you are, when you are, what you are, where you are. You can't turn your day around until you attempt to fight against your dark side. So, best way to fight against your dark side is to be transparent, and that's exactly what you and I need to be today. You don't have to tell the truth anymore about something you might be guilty of. All you have to do at this moment in time is follow the instructions that I'm giving you. And you will certainly send out a signal that will be received, picked up, and a signal will be sent back. I can assure you of this. You know, and the only signal you need to send out is yes, I am willing to align with the truth. And then it goes back to your transparency. But the truth, you got to understand, guys and gals. We're going to go deeper into all this later, and I'll get back to what I was talking about in a moment. But the truth is it's about clarity. And if you and I can collectively be transparent in this moment by saying sorry to the individuals that you feel you have to, by being inclined to clean up your mess in the environment, etc., etc. You know, these things will create a magnetic shift that you will not believe could exist, and the results of it are going to blow your mind. I know this for a fact because I deal with a very magical reality. Your reality. And you'll have a greater awareness of it as we go on. So I'm being transparent so that you can be transparent. I mean, hell, you could find out this information if you went and did a background check anyway. Fast tracking. My life was in shambles at that time. I needed money, so we decided during this kidnapping to, excuse me, we decided to take the gentleman down to his car, put him in the vehicle, and go from bank to bank. So we went from one bank to another bank to another bank. At that time, you could take $200 something out of the bank at a time. So we did that almost all night. It was freezing cold, snowing outside. And we stripped this gentleman down to his boxer shorts, tied him to a tree with his back up against the tree, and we proceeded to brand him as we branded ourselves on his forehead. This was done because of the hurt that I had in being molested as a child. I didn't like the fact that I would, prior to that, engage in activities with another individual, man, or young kid. But at the same time, I resented it because you know, on a social level, and at school, the peer pressure was great, and it was not accepted. So I was trying to, my ego, was over here, and my emptiness, of course, behind the masquerade of an ego was uh, kept me running in that direction, and that left me blowing in the wind, you know. Although I still dated females. So that resulted into that incident, and about 2 days later, after the kidnapping, this gentleman, I'm sure you're interested in knowing what happened. Well, we tied him up to the tree. About 2 days later, after his mother had gone to his house to pick him up, to take him out to go to dinner, she went to his house that night, right after we had taken him out of his house, believe it or not. We didn't know that he had a dinner date with her. And this is how the rebalancing of positive and negative forces works, for you and against you. Just for your knowledge prior to learning all the rest of this stuff. So his mother, because this gentleman was in the service, okay, he was a military guy to some degree, I don't know. His mother had to contact the FBI. Federal Bureau of Investigation was contacted in regards to this incident by the behest of his mother, and then her concerns, and they dropped down on the situation and found out that or they dropped down on the city, a little town here, and they got in contact with local gun stores, pawn shops. They said, hey, if anybody comes in here to buy or sell a gun, let us know. And we were kids, so we weren't thinking, like, okay, how could we make sure or ensure that we're not going to get in trouble? So we weren't thinking on those levels. And these gentlemen, I didn't even know they had guns, but they did. The two of them, two of my Italian stallion friends. We thought we were Al Capone and Scarface and Liberace and all types of good comedic, Well, anyways, these two gentlemen, a day after the incident, by the way, I'll tell you how this gentleman got found, and then I'll move back to the pawn shop. At about 4 o'clock in the morning, when we tied this gentleman up to a tree, and by the way, if you're still living, sir, I ask that you please forgive me for that. For, sir, I did not know who I was. I had no awareness of the reality of the fact that you and I are mirrors of each other. I've been, I've existed in a culture where they the Bible is what most of us reach out for the hope that we desire within our hearts so deeply for. And it tells you that in the Bible that, for the good you would, you don't, for the evil that you wouldn't do, you do. And I believe right now it's because it's hard to do what you don't want to do when you don't know who you are. And I realize the depth of who we are now. And I would never do something like that again to you or anyone else. And I ask that you please forgive me for that. For I understand why your particular bloodline exists. Obviously. And I have a multi-racial bloodline myself. So I have your bloodline in me, as well as Mexican and African. And I know why the African bloodline exists and how yours came out of theirs and ours. But I don't want to get too deeply into that subject at the moment. I want to apologize to you. I want to apologize to the community of New Kensington, PA. I want to apologize to the planet for what I've done in the past. And I ask that you please forgive me. Please forgive me. Namaste. Okay. If I may move on, sir. Ma'am. Mother, I apologize to you too for putting you through what I have. I know you're still here, so I'm sure you're gonna listen. I apologize for the pause. Clarity is important. I know how important it is, so I know what I have to sacrifice so that you will have the same clarity. This gentleman was found by we tied him up to a tree in a graveyard in the woods next to a graveyard, and in his boxer shorts, and left him there. And there was a gentleman, a European gentleman, and his daughter who were taking a morning jog through this area. And of course, before me and my friends, my accomplices, walked away from this gentleman, he asked me for a cigarette, and I gave him a cigarette, and put it in his lips, and And as we were walking away, I kind of looked at him, and he's looking at me like, "Can I have a light?" And I just looked at him, and I threw the lighter to him, and I if I remember correctly, he used that lighter to burn the ropes, part of the ropes off of his hands. And in the process of doing that, or during that time, there was a young girl and her father that were jogging by and noticed he found him on that tied to that tree. I know the implications of something like this. I know it builds distrust, and I know that it builds possible fear, terror. I'm sure it does. I've done a few other things that are questionable too, or they create question. But it's not important how many times I've done something despicable. It's because our reality is that you and I, we've had many, many, many existences, and we have been, for the most part, spiritually imbalanced for many, many generations. So, as I said earlier, you and I, you might as well say that you're, Sybil. We got male and female Sybils running around, mirror image reflections of each other. And I am now in possession of a way for us to get out of this frame of mind. And once again, to do that, I have to be transparent. So I'm going to move you through this conversation. And I know it's kind of gets emotional, and it's going to get more emotional. Okay? But I'm going to help you to deal with it